Hey everyone, this is Teresa Hagel, Executive Editor of Special Projects and Sustainability at ASI.
And this is Cassie Green, Content Director of Apparelist and Editor at Printing United Alliance. And you're listening to Branding Together, a new adventure into the converging worlds of print and promo.
We're here to bring you an engaging monthly discussion that dissects just how closely each of these industries align. Whether you're a promotional products distributor, commercial printer, apparel decorator, or a little bit of everything, our topics and guests will bring the ultimate crossover conversation.
When you're ready to bring your business to the next level, get lost in this month's episode, which is set to happen in 3, 2, 1.
Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for yet another unbelievable episode of Branding Together. I can't believe how much momentum and exciting conversations that we are having. My co-host Teresa Hagel and I are just really pumped that this is having such an impact on the industry already, right, Teresa?
No, absolutely. It is hard to believe that this is only like our, 6th, 7th episode, 8th, something like that. But
I know. It feels like we've been going forever and ever. I have to say, the guests we have had have been awesome. The conversations, talking about branding, talking about building a personal brand, and all of this stuff is just so much fun. So this month, we have some really fun, exciting things planned for the end of the episode again, so be sure to stick around. We also have a guest on today who's a fairly young business owner. We're going to talk a little bit about leadership, mentorship, what it means to build on the past while also honoring the change and all of the things that are coming into the industry. But first, Teresa, do you want to kick us off with some industry news from ASI side?
Sure, absolutely. The first thing I wanted to mention is something that's going to be coming out soon. So it's not out yet, but we've been hard at work on our State of the Industry report, which we do every summer. It kind of coincides with the ASI Chicago show, but it's going to have tons of original research, in-depth reporting. We'll reveal the new top 40 suppliers and distributors list. There'll be the Counselor Award winners will be revealed. So there's just tons of stuff for people to kind of latch on to. I really think it's a great tool for business building and forecasting and just sort of getting a sense of what is going on in the promo products industry and what people should be focusing on. And it's also nice because it is one of our print issues. It'll be the summer issue of Counselor magazine. And I just think there is still a lot of value in having that as this kind of resource that you can flip through whenever you want. It has all of those numbers and charts and just tons of information. So that'll be coming out soon. So that's something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, and probably one of my favorite things y'all put out. It is so packed with so much information. You're right. You almost have to keep it on your desk so that you can flip through it. You're like, oh, I thought I saw something about this, or I want to read about this, or what is the numbers, for certain topics. So Excited to see that come out. Speaking of data and research and reporting, the Alliance also recently, we do lots of state of the industry stuff as well, more from the print side, obviously. A few weeks ago, we did release the wages, salaries, and benefits report for 2024-2025. And this addresses one of the greatest challenges in our industry is how to build a productive, flexible workforce in what is still a tight labor market, right? So participants in this survey, and this is definitely more of an ongoing survey thing we do. And so this round, participants included commercial printers, graphic and sign producers, apparel decorators, package printers, and converters, and functional printers. And so, the report survey results really summarize the compensation practices of, I think, 512 printing companies, and includes data on, this number is crazy, includes data on 12,967 personnel across 63 job titles. So Wow. It's kind of a way to look and examine the labor market. Very specific, but again, helps address the tight labor challenges that we continue to.
Yeah, I imagine that is a really good resource both for the business owners, but also for individual workers to see whether their compensation is in line with industry standards and maybe sort of help them craft their own, career path.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Awesome. Well, my other piece of news, I've already kind of alluded to it, but coming up very soon, ASI Chicago at the McCormick Place Convention Center will be from July 22nd to 24th. I believe that people can still register. It's always, the shows are always packed with a ton of information, suppliers that have all kinds of great, products to look at. I know we have a keynote with Brian Erlacher. I hopefully I'm not saying his name wrong, but I'm not a sports person, so I don't know. But he was in like the football Hall of Famer, and he's going to be talking about like triumphing over adversity. So I feel like that'll be a great keynote. And if you're a sports person, it'll probably be even better. But even if you're not, it sounds like he'll have a lot of great business building tips. And hopefully you can go in person. But if you cannot, obviously we will be covering all of the really relevant information, and you can check out asicentral.com/news and afterwards and see kind of what you missed, and then maybe next you'll go in person.
I am having like mad FOMO already because I can't go to the I've been to your Chicago show before, but I'm having FOMO because it's just a good show, right? But also like sports nut over here, but I'm sure it'll be a phenomenal
Yeah.
keynote.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people in particular like the Chicago show because so many shows are at the beginning of the year, and this is nice. This is a nice like mid-year kind of checkup. So it's like kind of get you re-energized to finish out 2025.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that mindset. Yeah, halfway through the year, do a little check-in with yourself, your business, see where you're at, see what's out there still, pumping through the industry, what everybody else is talking about halfway through. Perfect timing. Couldn't agree more. Second bit of news from our side, and I'm going to go apparel specific on this, is, we've been following along with the SNS Activewear Alpha Broder merger for quite some time. I think the whole industry has, right? So they announced again a few weeks ago that they completed the customer and website integration of Alpha Broder. The company is moving forward under the SNS name and structure. And then quickly following, SNS announced that they will become the exclusive distributor of Hanes brands.
Right.
Starting
they're
December.
Just like coming fast and furious with news over there.
Yes. And I think that the reason why we like to follow along with this is absolutely does impact the industry, right? People who are customers of all of these different suppliers need to know who they're talking to, who they're working with. It also just kind of demonstrates, we've talked about this in previous episodes, this idea of, consolidation, mergers and acquisitions. It continues to be a trend. I know on the promo side as well. We continue to see this trend. So it absolutely does impact the flow of the industry, how, customers behave, how suppliers behave, supply chains, all the things, right?
Yeah.
And so this is definitely something we still are keeping a tight eye on.
Right. And I think, on the promo side, like last year, SNS and Alpha Broder were like maybe the second and third top companies in the top 40. So it shakes up that whole list. It's just it'll be interesting. So everyone will have to kind of stay tuned to see where SNS is for this year's list. Not to bring it back to our stuff, but it is totally. Kind of it's all converging. It's all interconnected. So.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. You're so right, Teresa. And that's also why people need to pay attention is like, this is about more than just like apparel, right? It impacts so many different facets of the printing and promo industries. It's crazy the reaching implications moves like this have. So awesome. Well, and then Teresa, one thing I know we have to talk about this episode is the awesome Sustainable Merch Summit that Teresa and I helped co-host with Branded Merch and two regular guys. That happened in June. Wow, I still get butterflies and all jittery when I think about how successful this event was, Teresa.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. I couldn't have asked for a better event. People were so engaged in the comments. Everything flowed really smoothly. We had panelists who were very well informed, but also engaging. And I felt like, I learned stuff, but it was none of it was dry. None of it was boring. Everybody was passionate. It was great. And I think it was our first event, and I feel like it's not going to be our last. We're going to keep going with this. So, obviously the full show is available. People can, check it out I think on YouTube. We'll definitely drop the link into the show notes, but there was a lot of good stuff in that, but it's just the beginning, right? This
Right.
this is a conversation that needs to keep going, and we're going to keep kind of leading it, I think, and that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I loved about that. You pointed this out, Teresa, is it was a highly engaged audience. I mean, the comment section was blowing up and it was with questions or people
Yeah.
looking for follow-up information. This is a very real change that we are starting to finally see is people are no longer just kind of whispering about it in the corner and then ignoring it like it's not something they have to do. Like people are taking action. They are getting certifications. They are sourcing more sustainable products. They are working with companies that have, recycling programs. They are making these decisions and they are looking for resources. I mean, you provided some case studies. One of our panelists, Marshall Atkinson, put together a one pager on certifications and where to look for those. It is just so refreshing to actually see people taking action now. And you're
Yeah.
right. This is on the first of hopefully many.
And I think the other good thing to mention is that I know there's a lot of people that are at the very beginning of their journey with sustainability, but and I think I said this during the summit as well, but people who are in sustainability love to help you. If you express an interest, they want to help and they want to collaborate. So you don't have to feel like you have to go it alone. I guarantee like anybody that was speaking during that summit, if you reached out to them with questions, they would be more than happy to share their knowledge. So
Absolutely.
it's a great resource for people.
Yep, could not agree more. So, everybody, keep your eyes and ears open for the next event, whatever that may be, that Teresa and Jay Bussell and Aaron and Terry and all of these amazing people will host. So,
Dream team
yeah, the dream team, the dream sustainability team. We're the warriors. Woo woo.
and sustainable Sally. Don't forget yourself.
I know. At first, so my husband calls me sustainable Sally at our house, and at first I was a little bit annoyed, and I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna lean into this. Like we are making changes, people.
Totally, totally.
Awesome. Well, so those are some great headlines, good updates. Keep an eye on ASI's feed, the Apparelist feed, Printing United Alliance feed. Keep updated on most recent news. Teresa, now might be a great time to kind of transition into the next segment of our show, which, it's the month of July for this podcast episode. And of course, obviously, that garners all sorts of like, oh, 4th of July, founding of the nation, let's celebrate. And that's great. But Teresa and I kind of thought, yes, let's celebrate the history of even like our industries, but then how do we blend all of these lessons learned? How do we, take all of this valuable information and embrace the future and move forward? So I thought that might be kind of a fun take and discussion. So Teresa, I'm curious, we've talked a little bit about your and my personal career paths and things like that. So, what's your kind of respective insight on, how have you taken your past experience and then remolded yourself to go forward?
I mean, I'm doing a lot of things that I never would have expected to do, whether that's being in front of a camera like this, doing a podcast. When I started my career, that would be something I would never imagine that I would want to do. I remember I had to start when smartphones first came out. The newsroom that I was in, they kind of assigned everybody a smartphone, like a really early iPhone, and we had to get like some training on how to do video editing. And we would go out, like when we would cover stories, we'd have to go out and shoot some like B-roll and like put together these short videos. But then I remember like sometimes they're like, okay, well then you can do some voiceover for it. And I just remember like really struggling. I'm like, oh my God, this feels so weird, so unnatural. I don't like talking into the microphone and hearing my voice, and it's just so awful. But now it's like I don't think twice about it. It would be fine.
Mhm.
So it is definitely that the multimedia aspect is so different. The social media was just sort of starting out when I was first getting into reporting. So I remember I used to like live tweet, police standoffs or government meetings or things like that. So that was something I had done like way back in the day. I don't really tweet anymore, but LinkedIn has become like the place where I post most stuff, and maybe like I'll do things on Instagram. But yeah, it's interesting how I always thought of myself more as a print person, a writing person, but it sort of branched out into, moderating panels and hosting a podcast and putting videos together. So they're all interrelated skill sets, I think, but they're things that I never really expected to be doing. How about you?
Oh my gosh, same. I feel like we are walking or have walked the same because when I've said this before, when I was getting my journalism degree, I thought for sure I'm like print editor. That's what I want to do. I love laying out a good magazine. I love editing stories. So much fun. But you're right, today's media landscape really has swung, and one of the things we've started focusing on is, you're right, how do we engage readers on a multimedia, you know, basis, but also keep their attention, because things happen so fast now. It's almost too fast, right? And so how do we make sure, you and I and all of the other editors on our team and the people who work in the print and promo industries, we are more than just general consumer media providers. We are educators, right? And we're thought leaders. So we have to make sure that the content our audience consumes is actually being consumed. And that has been a challenge, because it's like, you can't just read a headline in our industry. You do have to engage with the whole content to get the full education benefit of it, right? If you're reading ASI's State of the Industry stuff, you can't just read a couple lines, because you're not going to get the full benefit of it. And so as content creators in our industries, it's really sort of adapted and changed in terms of what the industry needs. And it's been an interesting transition to be like, okay, how do we make sure we're still getting our audience everything they need, but engaging in this quick-paced digital world?
Right. And I think part of it is looking at kind of multiple ways to deliver the same information and getting to them in the way that's easiest for them to consume, whether that is a video or a podcast or, like an infographic, or just, there's so many different ways to package it. I would say that I think the fundamentals of journalism remain the same. You know what I mean? We are, gathering news in the same way. We're building that trust. I think maybe it's a little harder to build trust in the era of AI and the era of kind of like, fake news or whatnot. So trust is not necessarily a given, but I think both of our respective publications have, spent a lot of time building that trust and building our content. So, that's all there, but it's just about how do we get people the same information, the same trusted information, but kind of package it for a new generation and a new kind of media landscape.
Right. Could not have said it better myself. It's so true, because you're right. That is a huge part of our past, is as journalists, as educators and things like that. Yeah, we do have this element of trust. We are held to a standard of providing accurate, factual information. And that's something that will always carry through, no matter how the landscape changes, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. I would love to continue to talk about that more, but folks, it is time to bring on this month's guest. So here to talk about growing up in the industry, speaking of, having past roots and present roots, Billy has now taken over ownership, but he grew up in this specific shop as a teenage graphic designer. So he worked part-time while learning the technical side of garment printing. So now as the owner, Billy looks to incorporate his past life into the future of the business. So welcome, Billy. Thanks for joining us.
Want to level up your skills or empower your workforce? Meet iLearning Plus, the online education platform powered by our parent organization, Printing United Alliance. With on-demand courses and certifications, iLearning Plus helps print professionals stay ahead of industry trends, sharpen their expertise, and grow their careers. Whether you're elevating your skills or training your team, We've got the resources to keep you competitive. Printing United Alliance members save 20% on all courses and certifications. So get started today at ilearningplus.org and build a stronger future in print.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's Branding Together episode.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to kind of start from the beginning. So can you just walk us through your history with this specific Big Frog store?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started working there in 2012. I was 19 and I was hired on as a graphic designer. Um, yeah, so I've stuck around since pretty much. After about 3 years, I was promoted to the operations manager. And I kept that role, well, until I bought it back last year in 2024. So yeah, and then at one point I did leave the store for about 6 months, but then returned. Yep.
You couldn't stay away.
Yeah, pretty much.
That happens to everybody in this industry. You try and walk away, you just come back.
It's the Hotel California of industries, I think.
Absolutely. But yeah, I had left to go work at a different print shop. I went from doing apparel to doing more like wide format designing vehicle wraps and signage and stuff, which was a lot of fun. But it was interesting. Yeah, it was interesting looking at a different part of the industry and seeing how different it was.
Yeah, yeah. So going back to, starting out as a graphic designer, while you were a teenager, given that, a lot of people, typically start that position after obtaining a degree, what was it like for you kind of starting a little bit earlier? How did you get into the graphic design part?
I mean, honestly, it was awesome. As a kid, it was always my dream to be an artist, right? And I tried every different medium I could, from animation to painting to music, everything. And I don't know, graphic design just kind of stuck. I had a web comic for a while. I was doing
cool.
that. But I would use Photoshop and Illustrator to make my art. Got good enough at it. Saw the job opening at Big Frog and was like, I think my portfolio is good enough, right? It's worth a shot, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
my background, like from 14 to 19, I was working in food service, either back of house at bars or, managing like fast food restaurants. But it was like, yeah, I want out of that. But
For sure.
no, it was awesome. I mean, being able to start a career without going to college was
Yeah.
very nice.
What was your web comic about? I need to know.
Just like video games and stuff. It was, yeah,
You don't
but
get what
yeah,
you don't ask for, right? You gotta just go
yeah,
for it.
pretty much. I definitely felt like I was at a disadvantage, and I've seen it too. Like my plan at Big Frog was to work there for a few years, get experience, and then move on to maybe a corporate design job. And yeah, it's tough without a degree, even with a bang up portfolio. I would get into interviews. They'd be like, "Oh, we love your work. You're great. Where'd you go to school?" And be like, "Oh, well, I didn't." And they're like, "Oh, okay. This interview's over." So yeah,
But when you're your own boss, I guess that you can kind of waive
yeah,
the
it doesn't
degree
matter.
requirement.
But
Love it. Love
yeah.
it. Can you, again, kind of going back to like those early days, can you talk to us a little bit about, one of the things, let's really back up. So the way we got connected with Billy is, we read press release. Teresa and I like to keep our finger to the newswire of what's going on in the industry. And one of the things in the press release that, you talk about is this idea of like this mentorship experience that you
Sure.
had, which I think it sounds like it probably also played a huge role in helping you develop your skills.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've worked at the store under three different sets of owners. The original that started it, and then they sold in the end of 2013 to Tim and Sandy Campbell. Tim, he's who eventually promoted me to operations manager. But he came from the corporate world. He was a higher up at Aramark for a long time. He was sick of being on airplanes every day and wanted to start a small business to spend time with his kids, essentially. And he saw Big Frog, loved it, bought it. We did not get along at first. The other employees, they had college degrees, and I was just kind of the grungy young guy sitting there, right? But as we worked together, he saw something in me, which was great, and he sat me down and was like, I think I want you to be my manager. How do you feel about that? I was like, yeah, sounds good. Like, wouldn't be my first time managing. You know, I've done it at restaurants and stuff. But as the years went on, he started kind of drilling the idea into my head that he thinks I'd be a good fit at owning the business. And he was like, knowing your personality, knowing you, I don't see you working for other people. I think you need to work for yourself. So he started kind of drilling into me all the ways that to run it, right? How to be an owner, how to just do everything. And yeah, it was great. Back then, you know, I was in my early 20s. I was like, yeah, sure, yeah, I'll own a business one day, whatever. But as the years went on, yeah, it started being more, yeah, I could see myself doing it. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But yeah, he was instrumental in teaching me everything I needed to know to run the business for sure,
Yeah.
without any formal training.
So I know you had mentioned already that you kind of stepped back for a little bit and went into like the vehicle wrap,
Yeah,
another industry. But then you came back, I guess, January 2022, which was kind of after the COVID, pandemic started to recede, but there was still a lot of uh,
sure.
unrest. It was still kind of tumultuous for small businesses. What made you come back to Big Frog?
Um, I mean, it was a number of things. I mean, obviously the main one's money. The other job, I mean, it was great. I had a really good time trying my hand at a different type of design and a different type of printing. I mean, it was
Mhm.
wide format, doing big, you know, like solvent printers, like rolls and stuff. But um, I just wasn't as good at it, which was weird because at Big Frog, I was the go-to guy for years. It was an employee has a question, I have the answer immediately. Going into a completely different industry, like I don't know, it hurt the ego, right? When I just felt like I was bad at it.
Yeah.
I was getting it down, but it was, I don't know, the whole thing was whatever. I don't want to speak ill of the company I worked for, but um, yeah, I don't know. The store wasn't doing great without me there because I had been running it for 10 years at that point, and
Mhm.
me stepping out of it, some clients left. They liked me specifically, and it's I don't know, the new owner, we talked and he was like, I think I want you to come back. Are you willing to do it? And I was like, yeah, I'm willing to do it for a raise. you know?
Smart.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but it was good. I mean, as soon as I got back, there was a lot of work to be done to get the store back to where it was because it had definitely fallen off
Mhm.
without me there, which felt good, but also bad, right? Definitely felt like I was shouldering a lot of it myself before, and I was going to be, but hey, with a pay raise, that was fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you talked a little bit about this. So we've walked through sort of the timeline and the history of,
Mhm.
you today. Now you're the owner.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this, and I say it out of total love and mad respect, and as somebody who's feeling her age a little bit. You came
Sure.
into ownership at a fairly young age, which is very interesting. So can you kind of talk about that? Like how did that all, you've talked about how that all came about becoming the
Sure.
owner. But it's not, unless what we see in the industry is typically, people start their business when they're young and then just keep owning it. You
Yeah.
were part of the business, but then took over ownership. What really
Yeah.
gave you that, like, that drive?
I mean, I'm not that young. I appreciate you. I'm 33. I feel like it's a good age to own a business, right? But I mean, the drive was just so coming back to it. The first year I was back, sales increased exponentially, and some of that had to have been, COVID was ending, things were picking back up. I don't think that was all of it. I think I was a big factor in reclaiming old clients, calling them, being like, "Hey, I'm back. Come back to us." Right. So after that first year and seeing the increases, I was like, I think I'm pretty good at this. I think I can do this pretty well. Right. The store, the owner, that was the third owner now that I was working with. He was ready to sell anyway. He was just kind of done with it. He called me one day and was just like, "Hey, I have a buyer coming to look at it today." And I was like, "Whoa, hold on. Are you selling? I didn't know you were selling." And he was like, "Yeah, he'll be there today. Give him a tour." And I was like, "Well, no, if you're selling, I'm buying it. Like, I'm not working under another owner. I've been here so long." And he was like, "You have first dibs. If you can come up with the money, it's all yours. I'll give you a good price on it, whatever." So I mean, yeah, I was ready. It had been like 2 years working for him. He didn't really set foot in the store the whole time I was back because that was our agreement. I was like, you pay me good, you don't have to worry about it. I've got it. I'll run it. I'll run it well. So doing that, I'd proved to myself that I could essentially, and then yeah, I took out a loan.
What was the official date you took over ownership?
June 17th, which is my birthday, actually.
Oh, happy
So
birthday.
yeah, my birthday is 2 days ago now, but
My gosh, that's
yeah,
awesome. Well, yeah,
I
happy.
know it was like, oh, it's been a full year already.
My
Wow.
goodness.
Wow. So, you've had a year as the owner,
Mhm.
but going forward, how do you plan to kind of blend all those past experiences in the printing industry with kind of your growth strategies, embracing
Sure.
the future? Like what's next for it now that you're kind of like the full owner, been a whole year? Like what comes
Um,
next?
I mean, it's been a lot already, thankfully. And it's everything I've been doing has been working, which is great.
Yeah.
It's trying to think of the best way to put that. Big like a big portion was looking at things that we're not doing that we should be doing. I was paying attention to what clients are coming in asking for and what we're turning away because we were turning away a lot of stuff. Big Frog generally, our main focus is direct to garment printing.
Right.
My store specifically, I don't have white ink set up. I don't have. It's a pretty small space. I have like 1,100 square feet, so I don't have room for a pre-treat machine. I've heard issues with the maintenance on white ink. When we bought a new GTX, I was like, don't set it up. We're just gonna do light colored garments. So we needed a method to do dark garments. Another thing is like hats. We've always done them with embroidery. I don't do embroidery in house. I sub it out. They have a minimum of 6 pieces. If someone wants a single hat, they're not going to get six and they're not going to pay a setup fee to. So I was like, all right, we need to find a way to do a single hat because people come in and ask for it. So it was just looking at the clients we have and just adding to my store. So I keep buying new equipment and stuff, which is something it's like, you got to take those risks as an
Yeah.
owner, right? Like other owners are adverse to spending money on the store, whereas I'm like, let's do it. It's going
Yeah.
to pay off in the long run. And in the first year, it has exponentially.
Do you
So
think you'll ever expand the footprint? Because it sounds like you have a limited space to add equipment to.
I would like to, in the future, I mean, ideally, I would like to have multiple stores.
Okay.
We're talking probably 5 years from now before that's even a thought, but at least two, I think,
Yeah.
would be solid. And then the second store planned out with more square footage for upgrading and adding more equipment.
Yeah. So it sounds
Where
like you have a
necessary.
nice plan, in your
Oh
mind
yeah,
already of where this is going to go.
yeah, and it's been good. I mean, other than that, it's been just like for years after Tim had passed away, he was really involved in marketing, whether that was getting out and grounding, like pounding the pavement himself or online. We haven't done any since he passed away. And the sales show that, right? Like if you're not in people's faces, they forget about you. So that was a big thing for me is like I joined the Chamber of Commerce immediately when I took over. I go to at least once or twice a month. I try to go to chamber meetings and events. Been doing volunteer work with the schools. Like I did mock interviews for graphic design students at one of the schools. That was a blast. I really enjoyed doing that. But just getting involved in the community, it works. I mean, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, in the first year, sales are. I do a goal for the year at the beginning of the year, right? We're way above that so I'm happy.
Great. Wow.
Mhm.
Especially when we are hearing decorators reporting that 25 has been rough. So
Yeah,
that's great.
really.
Yeah.
That's been a great year for me. I mean, yeah, sales wise, I mean, sales doesn't equal profit,
Right,
but
right, right. Hey, that's fine. So, we see a lot of rising stars, people who come up in the industry who don't necessarily have degrees, but are crushing it regardless because you don't need a
sure.
degree to be a good at what you do and be a good owner and all of these things. So what advice do you have for, other folks who are coming up in the industry, just starting out their careers? What advice would you share with them?
So I think the main advice for how to how to be successful in this kind of industry, right? I prioritize the business kind of in tiers, right? And at the very top is my employees, right? They come first. They need to be taken care of. Like, without employees, you don't like, and mine are designers as well. They're all designers that sell, so they wear a lot of hats. Without them, I don't have a business, right? Like, because I can do all of it, but not by myself, you know? So employees come first, then customer service comes before your product. You've got to blow every customer away. We always like to say, it's not the first sale that's important, it's the second sale, right? You can get a first sale. If you don't win them over and they don't come back, then I don't know, it wasn't worth it. Then the product is the most important thing. You got to QA everything you have. A lot of print shops, they'll have like, it's a large order, a 5% damage is fine. No, it's not. There should be nothing damaged. You need to check everything in. Sometimes things might have a stain on it or a hole in it. Check them in, make sure they don't before you print them. And then at the very end of the totem pole is me. I get taken care of after everything else is taken care of, right? Yeah, I'm the lowest priority.
No, that's I think that you make really interesting points. Be it one of the things Teresa and I were talking about at the beginning of the episode is staffing and labor and employee challenges and all those things. I think that's really solid advice. Take care of your employees.
Yeah, and they'll take care of you and your business.
Right.
It's easier to have people work their hardest when they respect you and they're happy and they have fun at work.
Yeah, I think that's so true, and it's something that in like corporate America is often forgotten or lost. So it's nice that you are doing that where at your shop.
Well, and I mean, I work in my shop every day as well, so it makes my day better when everyone's happy.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, Billy, this has been great so far, but of course, branding together always likes to end kind of on a fun, silly kind of note. So my last question for you is, which celebrity, dead or alive, would you most like to have dinner with and why?
Yeah. So I was thinking on that one. Realistically, I'm kind of an introvert, so sitting down for a dinner, that's intimate, right? So I don't know what I would talk to most celebrities about, honestly. So my pick would have to be Jeff Goldblum. He's such an eccentric dude that I think he would just carry the conversation and I wouldn't have to. And it would be a fun, one to remember.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good dinner party. I would be into that.
I love that. I wouldn't have even thought that's what you were gonna say, but Jeff Goldblum, good choice, solid.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Jeff Goldblum movie?
Oh man, that's hard. Probably The Fly, I guess.
Okay.
Oh, good one. Weird, awkward, but he played it all well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Billy, as Teresa said, this has been great talking to you. We'll definitely provide, some additional links and whatnot in our show notes. Best of luck. Sounds like you guys are on the up and up. You're ready to get rock and very excited to see what, happens and comes of Big Frog in the future for you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. If you ever need me for anything else, let me know.
Love it.
Well, Billy, it's been so great having you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us. And now, of course, we're going to wrap things up, as we always like to do, with a fun segment. And because it's July Independence Day, we're going to play something called Founding Fathers Merch. So each of us have selected 5 founding fathers, and we've come up with the kind of promotional products they would each carry if they were alive today.
So I'm so excited.
All right, you start with one of yours.
Okay. I'm going to start with Betsy Ross. Okay.
Nice.
You got it. Right. So what I think she would have is a stars, stripes, and stitching DIY embroidery kit. So I picture this as an over-the-top red, white, and bling embroidery kit that comes with a glittery sewing box. And then inside you have pre-threaded needles, sparkle thread, tiny branded hoop that says sew, S-E-W, revolutionary. Sorry, I had to do it.
I kind of want that for myself.
Right? So she would obviously be a phenomenal Etsy voice, right? I asked ChatGPT why Betsy might carry this item, right? And ChatGPT thinks Betsy would be out there running the colonial equivalent of a YouTube channel called Thread Quarters. She'd hand out these sewing kits and subtly shade other flag designs.
That's funny.
I could see Betsy throwing some shade.
All right, so my first one, I went with Alexander Hamilton, and I think he would, I think he would just have a T-shirt from the musical of his own, name. I mean, why wouldn't you? If somebody wrote a musical about you, you got to wear the shirt. So I think it would just be the simple. He would go and maybe he'd be a little incognito, but he would, grab that nice like a nice comfy tee with like the star and like his fist up or whatnot. I think he would be rocking the Hamilton concert merch tee.
Gosh, I love that. And that's so funny because I also selected Hamilton, and I also selected him because of the play. We've been watching it with our kids because they were
Yeah.
very interested and fascinated by it. So now Hamilton is stuck in my head. Okay, I love the idea of a t-shirt, and then also I think he would have a custom quill pen.
Oh, nice.
The big feather.
Yeah. Yeah. The bigger the feather, the better.
And so maybe he's got his t-shirt, he's got his pen, he's got his sunglasses, maybe even. He's ready to rock.
I love it. So speaking of pens, my next founding father is John Hancock. So I think that he would have just like a really high quality gel pen, perfect for signing his name on the Declaration. But maybe it would also be one of the ones that has the stylus on the end so that he can e-sign things as well because he's in the new era. It's digital. So he can, he can do like print signatures, but he can also e-sign.
Oh, I love a good gel pen. Yeah.
Nice, smooth writing.
All right, my next one is I had to do George Washington. All right. And so I think he would have an embroidered bathrobe and it would say Father of the Nation. It's plush, it's monogrammed, it's got the cherry blossom embroidery.
Nice.
And then a little slogan underneath says, Can't tell a lie, I lounge in style.
Oh, I love it. You know what? Maybe he could have custom grills to replace his wooden teeth.
Brilliant. Yes. Yes. George just walking down the street in his bathrobe and his custom grill.
So my next one, I have Benjamin Franklin. And I just thought he would have a logoed kite,
Oh yeah, totally.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I could think of for him, but I was just going to go with like the simple, key with the kite. Hopefully he won't electrocute himself with his, promo kite, but
Yeah, he better stay safe. All right, my next one is Abigail Adams.
noise.
She is flinging Remember the Ladies empowerment fans. They're folding fans made of satin and lace, printed with a portrait of Abigail herself. That says "Hot takes from the First Lady of Sass."
Nice. So my next one is also a founding mother, Phyllis Wheatley, the Black poet. Of course, since she's a poet, I thought a nice journal, high quality journal, like maybe a moleskin or something, so she can write her poems. Just maybe something that she could put in a pocket and pull out when inspiration strikes. But nice print, beautiful paper, high quality. I think that would be awesome.
Yep, I want it already. All right, my last one is Jefferson, and I think he would have a very nice stress reliever pillow. It's got the lavender built in where you can microwave it, you can heat it up, releases some stress relief scents, kind of like settles everybody down. Yeah,
I think we all need that, actually.
100%.
Yeah.
All
right. So my last one is Samuel Adams, and this is sort of maybe I'm cheating a little bit, but I think that he would have a custom drink mitten. Like so it's like a mitten, but it has a hole so you can put your beer in it. And Sam Adams, the beer brand, actually did release one of these a few years ago, and I know because I bought it for my dad for Christmas. So it's a real thing. It has like his face, the logo on it, and you can, in the wintertime, you can enjoy your beer outside without freezing your fingers. So
perfect. I love it. All of these promotional items are absolute fire. I want all of them. I think they all have a place. Yes. Very fun. Well, awesome, Teresa. Well, I think, everybody out there listening, reach out to us. Let us know what you think the founding fathers would carry as their promotional products. Teresa and I would love to hear from everybody. And next month, I'm sure there's plenty more in store, but you're just going to have to stick around, be patient, and wait for us to drop the next episode of Branding Together. Teresa, thank you.